What's up, Taiwan? I'm Jensen with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. China has delayed the return of 2 Taiwanese fishers from the Kinmen Islands. As John Van Trieste reports, the decision comes as tensions between the countries remain high in the waters nearby.
2 Taiwanese fishers rescued by China's Coast Guard were supposed to return home on Tuesday after being handed over to authorities in Kinmen. But Tuesday has come and gone, and questions are mounting over why China's holding on to them. The fact that one is serving in Taiwan's military has been put forward as a reason for the delayed release. But defense analysts are not convinced, as China handed over another military member rescued in 2017.
因为他的确没有任何的意图啊，那但是我们也要防范说他拖延时间久一点，然后让金门这边焦虑，或者是必须要提什么条件，或者是跟他谈判等等啊，就很难说。
But there is another possibility. The Kinmen Islands, a Taiwanese county just off China's coast, have felt the brunt of recent cross-strait tensions. Taiwan and China are still at odds over the fatal collision of a Taiwanese Coast Guard vessel and a Chinese boat in a restricted zone off the islands in February. China has responded by increasing its own Coast Guard patrols around the islands, including in forbidden zones. It's a move some analysts say is meant to test Taiwan's ability to police its own waters and put the area under effective Chinese control. Though Taiwan and China put their differences aside for a joint search and rescue operation in the area last week, tensions haven't eased. Whatever China's reasons, authorities on the islands haven't given up on the fishermen's return.
海上突发状况的人道救援是普世价值，现在最重要的是将2位平安顺利地接回金门。目前由金门县政府及海巡单位在协调中。
But for now, China is silent, and when the fishermen will return home is an open question. Scott Huang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu says Beijing has built large military bases near Taiwan's holding in the South China Sea. China has been trying to reinforce its claims on the region, a source of tension with other claimants, including the Philippines and Vietnam. Taiwan has restated its control of Taiping Island, also known as Itu Aba, and recently completed a dredging project there to let larger vessels dock. Wu has reaffirmed that Taipei is not looking to escalate tensions over the strategic waterway.
那在这个目前的争议不断的升高的情况之下，我们台湾就必须要去思考，我们如何来提倡用和平的方式来解决南海的这个争端，而不是去让人家认为说我们又是在制造困难。
A group of Taiwan's first one-year conscripts are wrapping up basic training and getting ready to join the rest of the military. Our reporter Jaime Ocon is at an army base in central Taiwan, where the recruits are taking their final test.
Taiwan's first wave of one-year conscripts are putting their skills to the test here in central Taiwan. For the past 8 weeks, hundreds of young men have been undergoing basic training to see if they're ready to move on and train with the rest of the military. Recruits not only have to navigate this obstacle course, but they also have to show that they can traverse different terrain, follow orders while under enemy fire, and demonstrate that they can work together as a unit.
感觉就是发现在真实战场上的环境跟电影演的完全不一样。电影没有办，就是电影还是没有办法演绎出真正战场上的那种会让人带来那种震撼感以及那种嘈杂的声音啊，那种压力。对。
This training is part of the country's effort to reform and boost its defense strategy. Taiwan extended the length of conscription from 4 months to 1 year back in 2022, and partly due to increased military pressure from China, which continues to threaten Taiwan with invasion to bring it under its control. The conscripts training here are the first batch to train under the one-year program, which took effect in January. Now, military officials are telling me that if the plan continues, they'll be able to train 9,000 conscripts by the end of this year. And the hope is that with more training will come better combat skills. Chris Ma and Jaime Okan in Taichung for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's president-elect Li Chinga has tried to ease growing concerns about how the country's impending energy price hike will hurt industries, especially the power-intensive chips sector.
加强合作， 建立一个更完整的生态系，让这个半导体产业在台湾更稳固、更蓬勃发展。
Li joined a group of semiconductor industry leaders for a closed-door meeting to discuss energy and other resource issues. Taiwan imports almost all of its energy, and the state-run power company Taipower has been absorbing billions of dollars in losses to keep electricity prices artificially low for years. Taipower, led by Taiwan's economy minister, will break from this strategy and raise prices next month, and some chip leaders are looking to alternative energy sources.
刚刚王美华部长也讲，他其实蛮替我们争取，可是台电已经损失到已经连动都不能动的地步了。业界提到，是不是我们因为核电发电成本比较低嘛？是不是要考虑这个？那个赖总统并没有完全回答这个问题。
A student in Northern Taiwan is in intensive care after falling from a school building in an alleged bullying incident. According to local media, the 8th grader had been bullied by older kids for some time. The fall happened during a parent-teacher meeting on Saturday. Officials at the Taoyuan County School say they're investigating. The case is the latest in a string of school bullying incidents reported in the country. Lawmakers are pushing for a clearer legal definition of bullying and for better measures to help affected students. Hong Kong's legislature unanimously passed a new national security law on Tuesday. Known as Article 23, it was introduced less than 2 weeks ago and fast-tracked to passage. It punishes crimes such as sabotage, sedition, treason, and external interference, and follows a similar law in 2019 that resulted in major months-long protests. Critics say the content is poorly defined and would further limit freedoms in the Chinese territory. Countries such as the United States have also expressed concern over its impact.
They use phrases such as external interference, which is incredibly vague. So we're analyzing this legislation, and we are taking a look at what the potential risk could be to not just U.S. citizens, but other American interests that we might have.
To find out more, Harrell Hughes spoke to Michael Moe, a former Hong Kong district councillor and researcher at the University of Leeds in the UK.
So just to start, what is Article 23? What does it add to Hong Kong's existing national security law?
Article 23 is written in the Hong Kong's mini constitution called the Basic Law, which says that Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government has the responsibility to legislate their own laws to protect Hong Kong's and China's national security. That has been dragging for over 2 decades or so as a hot button issue among politicians in Hong Kong. It pretty much would put the seditions into the framework of the national security law that is legislated in Hong Kong right now, and would further imprison anyone who deemed like doing any seditious actions that would endanger so-called national security, and they could be jailed for longer time than under the current provision. And of course, it added treason and other kinds of laws we could jail you for lifetime.
What does the law mean for people in Hong Kong?
It pretty much lowered the bar or the threshold for the law enforcement and the court to jail anyone who deemed so-called suspicious or making anyone dissatisfied or making hard feelings to government officials. They could get arrested and jailed pretty much with these new provisions. So it is a catch-all crime for speech and political actions. For the provisions that it does not require the court to prove the person who made the speech or the many reasonable criticisms that has an intent to incite violence.
And what about outside Hong Kong, people like yourself?
It has the extraterritorial application, which targets any HKID, the Hong Kong ID holders overseas. For those who are living outside of Hong Kong, as long as they could not get rid of their Hong Kong identity card, the extraterritorial application matters to them. For instance, if they make criticisms or even join June 4th massacre vigils in the UK, for instance, and being spotted, photoed, and being identified, they might be in trouble when they're going back home.
The law received unanimous support from all 89 lawmakers, and it even got an unprecedented vote from the legislative president. What can we take away from that?
We all know this is a patriot-only legislature, and it has become nothing but a rubber stamp. So the vote itself is a way for these politicians to show their allegiance to Beijing. As during the committee stage, we all identify that the law itself is way problematic and has all the provisions that is not in compliance with the human rights treaties. Still, we don't see any legislative member raise this kind of concerns.
That was Michael Mo, a former Hong Kong district councillor and researcher at the University of Leeds, speaking to our reporter, Hirel Hughes. A local restaurant is the last one left in the country that cooks its food with horseshoe crab shells. It's an 80-year-old practice once common in central Taiwan, but as horseshoe crabs are an endangered species, this cultural practice may need to come to an end. Irene Lynn reports.
This oversized cooking tool may look unusual, but it was once commonly used in central Taiwan. It's the shell of a horseshoe crab, and Chef Huang Yurong says the shell's properties help in the cooking process. The shell soften with the heat, making them perfect for stirring delicate ingredients without breaking them.
它独有的功法就是用后壳下去炒这个面，炒起来好像比较柔软。
有的人炒迄油面拢干那安尼，炒几个就起来，迄味拢还袂离去。伊这有倒会变成小花黏黏的，这样也足够炒。
West Coast locals have been catching horseshoe crabs and using their shells for generations. The crabs live close to the beach and shed their shells as they grow. Local fishers saw the opportunity to cook with the empty shells left behind. But getting a taste of shell-fried noodles has become harder. These living fossils are endangered and face threats from fishing activities and climate change.
喺亞洲嘅馬蹄蟹咧，其實如果令到即係全球暖化啲水位上升嘅話咧，其實好多地方嘅棲息地都可能係會消失嘅。咁呢樣嘢亦都可能會喺香港出現，因為香港而家好多個沙灘，咁當你將來海水個水平面上升嘅時候咧，呢啲沙灘可能就淹沒咗。
Like the species itself, this traditional culinary practice is also disappearing. For over 8 decades, there were a dozen restaurants cooking with horseshoe crab shells. Now, as the younger generation have left town and with fewer crabs, it's down to 1. Huang Yurong says she's doing her part to pass on the tradition.
就是不希望说这样传统的产业就这样消失不见。我也不希望说未来小朋友他只知道说在图书馆看到或者是在博物馆看到，他不知道他真正的使用方式是什么。
For cooks like Huang and researchers of horseshoe crabs, the priority is to educate the public more and find a way to keep the tradition and, more importantly, the species alive for generations to come. Chris Ma and Irene Lynn for TaiwanPlus.
Veteran basketball guard Jeremy Lynn has been suspended for 5 games for getting a prohibited blood treatment. Taiwan's Plus League penalized the former NBA champion after he received intravenous laser irradiation of blood, which is forbidden by the World Anti-Doping Agency under policies against blood manipulation. Lynn also faces a fine of nearly $5,000 for the violation. Lynn's team, the New Taipei Kings, issued a statement saying that the therapy was intended to help Lynn recover from a foot injury, not enhance his performance. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Before we go, we take you to Spain's Picasso Museum of Malaga for a new Pablo Picasso exhibition. I'm Sally Jensen, take care and see you next time.